Hello and welcome to the New Story podcast with me, Rebecca Conran. We've got Abdi today, Abdi Assadi on. He's a spiritual counselor and healer of over 40 years. One of my mentors and my friends, and he excels in recognizing the human shadow and embracing it, and really just helping to find ways to integrate that into spiritual peace in your life. I'm Rebecca. I'm an astrologer, energy healer, and life coach, and maybe Abdi's protege. Who knows?
We're down with
um,
that.
no, but now we've got all that shit out of the way. Today we're going to talk about sort of like some of the things coming up, especially with, I mean, literally everything sort of tapping on it, but like faith, how we are able to communicate with people who have other beliefs than us, how we really recognize what our faith is. And I'd love to touch on a little bit of like supremacist ideation as well.
Mhm.
Um, I I was thinking about doing this podcast, Abdi, because someone reached out to me. I get a lot of people reaching out to be on the podcast, and I don't really have anybody come on if I don't know them. But
Mhm.
this person was like a very well known like Christian influencer, and it
Mhm.
triggered something in me because I was like, I come from, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. It was a very difficult experience for me. So the kind of Christian attitudes, it I was like on my podcast with my, and I felt really defensive, but I sat with it and I said, well, maybe this is an opportunity to like have a conversation about different faiths. So I said, I responded that I would love to have them on, not as a promotional tool for them, but as a way to kind of come from different directions and maybe see where we settle in the middle. And obviously, I never heard back from them, but it made me think about just how difficult it is right now for people to have any kind of like discourse with someone who is just different from them, and
Mhm.
we could talk about faith, but it could also be that expands into political affiliations and all of that. It's all sort of like the same themes ultimately. But yeah, I just want to kind of like, well, first of all, I just want to say, like, you know, do you have any thoughts at the outset on that you want to share?
I do. It's so interesting what you just said. I just wrote something down, which I'll get back to. So, I've sat with this for a long time. First thing I want to say is there's a big difference between knowingness and belief, right? So if I believe I can swim and I can't swim, you're going to drop me into a river, I'm going to drown. If I know I can swim, you throw me into a river, I can swim. One of the things I've discovered for a long time is that a lot of people have beliefs, but they don't have knowingness. And then the thing I just wrote down, it's interesting with this character you just described. What I find is people have belief without knowingness. They tend to be super aggressive because there is a place in them that they're not sure. So they're going to really try to shove stuff down your throat. And I find that people that have knowingness have a calmness in them because they know.
Yeah.
So, I think back to some of my Zen teachers and some of my martial arts teachers, they had a knowingness and they were calm, right? Like most violent martial arts teachers, there's just something off with them. But the ones like some of these Tai Chi characters or this one Zen guy I think back to, they were just calm, right? I remember one time one of them was late. I was driving them somewhere, it's like 30 years ago, and I was all stressed. I was like, oh my God, it's a big workshop and we're late. And he just was like as if nothing has happened. I was like, wow, this is proof in the pudding. This guy has a knowingness I don't have,
Yeah.
right? Now, the other piece to this, I have discovered from racing motorcycles, from being a pretty high level martial arts guy for almost 50 years. Anything like that, which is very high extreme, when the extremity comes, you're doing 160 miles an hour, you're in a full contact tournament, you're going to go to your default setting,
Mm.
meaning your belief has nothing to do with it. You're going to go into muscle memory.
Yeah.
And that muscle memory is usually not pretty.
Yes.
You're a martial artist and you've got all this great form, but you get hit in the head a couple of times. Then you go into this sort of street brawl thing, which is not martial arts. If you're a motorcycle racer and you're doing this beautiful smooth thing, someone crashes in front of you, you go into your panic mode. So the thing that I sat with as we were getting ready for our session, and you asked me about this, was it's very important for us to be honest with ourselves, to take an honest inventory. So when you talk about this sort of extreme beliefs, that's what they are. Their beliefs are not knowingness. The
Yeah.
knowingness has a calmness to it. Now, the knowingness tends to be, in my experience, of a oneness experience. It's
Yeah.
not me over you. If I'm trying to do something more me over you, that's a belief. It's not a knowingness.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it feels like we, a lot of the energy right now is really pushing people towards like a truth, but I've always felt like, and I've not always been able to practice this more so now than before, but that the truth doesn't actually need to be defended. A truth doesn't need to be defended. It's like, you don't need to defend gravity, okay? Like gravity exists. Like we don't need to like
Right,
defend
right.
it, its existence. It is, And I think that with any kind of truth that is a knowingness, like we don't have to go into those places of defense and explanation
Yes.
and right now like we're going through so much like I think we've talked about before like that it's so important to have discernment is such a key component right now of like well I have a truth someone else has a truth and neither of those truths are probably fully true there's a higher truth that is encompassing all of it and so do you feel like that's really why it's so threatening to talk to other people who have beliefs that are different to us right now because it's triggering actually inconsistencies in our own truth?
So a couple of layers. One of the things is that I always say this culture is not our friend.
Yeah.
So the culture right now, it's at its highest level tuned into getting people to go against each other.
Yeah.
That's not just our experience. That's actually happening through social media, through, mainstream media. So there's a divide and conquer energy, which if we dig into it from a Jungian sort of archetype, that's all the repressed unconscious stuff. Whatever we haven't accepted in ourselves, we project on other people. It's just that the machination of culture has geared up to a level I've never seen before as a guy who's lived in this culture anyway for 5 decades, where people are at each other's throats, not just for them, because they're really being fed. So all the stuff, all these key, cute words, oh, echo chamber, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's by design. The
Yeah.
divide and conquer thing is by design. So if everyone's doing this, they're not looking at the thing that's repressing them. So that's one level of it. The other part is like, yeah, people have to be doing their own work. I see a lot of people doing the blah, 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 but not sitting and cleaning the laundry inside.
Yes.
And yeah, so go ahead. What are you going to say?
Well, no, just along what you're saying is like for me, I like to think of it like someone is profiting off of everything I'm seeing, reading,
Right.
and it's like not personal.
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
greed. It's just like it's
Yes.
just they just want the money that comes from
Yes.
that profit from that emotional urge that's being triggered in me through whatever it is, the news, social media, things like that. And
Let me stop you there a second, though. So
yeah.
absolutely correct. And I would add there's another level of it,
Mm,
more pessimistic than you, or I see things in a darker light. There's also a part where that's true. And there's an aspect where this mechanism of making money off of people's emotional state, pretty much, there's also a police state
mm,
that also then wants to feed very specific things. So people being eliminated off social media for saying certain things, or so there's a part where like it's actually darker than that, although that's plenty dark, right? This
yeah.
is already to monetize a human's emotion. There's also a part where this um, sort of police state that's happened already, not happening, that's also affecting people. So when I say culture is not our friend, this whole mechanism is being hoarded to control people's emotions and then to kind of police them, right?
Yeah.
So surveillance state is a very real thing that's happening.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
we're given, this is the thing I was just talking in a podcast, just my last podcast. It keeps coming up for me, sovereignty. We have to have sovereignty over our psyche. So part of these beliefs is we're taking a sovereignty outside of us and putting it somewhere else,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yes.
the Christian thing,
Absolutely.
for example, or whatever, thou shalt not kill,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. If you're sovereign inside, like you don't want to hurt anyone. So
Yeah. And I think that's why it's so, if we look at like astrology, let's say the archetypes are right there right now to say leaders are going to rise and fall, basically. Like any kind of like blowhole spirituality is
Mhm.
we're gonna see that. And I think, that's hard for a lot of people. Like
Mhm.
reading the Epstein files or whatever, like on a personal level, I was quite disappointed to see like Noam Chomsky's name in there. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
well, this is just
yeah,
another,
yeah.
people are imperfect. I don't mean to like brush over that, but I mean, you should never put your faith in
Mhm.
anybody to be anything but an imperfect human being. But I can imagine a lot of people that like follow Deepak Chopra and stuff like that are feeling really unmoored in their spirituality if that was their guru,
Mhm.
and this has happened with lots of like top level spiritual leaders that we've seen through time. I mean, Osho, Bikram, like there's lots of people that we've seen, John of God or whatever, that you can see how the power can corrupt.
Mhm.
But like, how do people? So obviously, there's this need to really pull from the inner well of truth to go
Yes.
to follow oneself. But how do you explain sort of defining faith to people, or how to kind of like connect into that faith?
So yeah, so I don't use the word faith. I actually have
Ah,
allergic reaction to faith. I use knowingness.
okay.
Different. So we're saying the same thing, but I am particular about words. Now, just 1 second before we go past this. So idol worship, which
Yeah.
is whether it's Hollywood, whether it's a guru like Six Pack Chopra, what I call him. So, these people, there's a darker thing happening here. These horrible things being shown to us right now. So this is just a side note. I want to get this
Yeah.
out of the way.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got this psychic hit on this, when this stuff started coming, I'm like, why now? Like, why this horrendous stuff being revealed now? These politicians and all that, when they always, cover their own backs. Well, the darker part is like all these idols are going to fall, but the new idol is going to be AI. It's going to be like, look at how horrible these politicians are. And here's your gurus. Look how horrible they are. Like we know. Don't forget about also Dalai Lama. Like there's some crazy stuff going on here, right? These are like some really huge idols for people being taken apart. It's going to be about AI. So this is
Mm,
also very important. So also one of the things I'm seeing talking about faith, people are really going towards AI as the new God. This is their new idol.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So six pack is no good and Dala is no good. Like, oh, but AI, you can trust AI, right? Here's this pure thing. So let's just keep that in mind here of the powers that be. Now that this is what this conversation is about. But this is very important because you're going to see that being forwarded more and more. I was like, here's a solution. Here's a
Mm,
problem. It's a
yes.
Hegelian dialectic.
Yeah.
Now, we can talk about the words of what you mean by faith and what I mean by knowingness. In my own life, when things were in faith, was because there was a lot of pain that I hadn't dealt with and I wanted to relegate it. So I would do this. So faith can be important in an aspect of life. But then at some point you got to be like, well, what do I really know?
Mm,
Right? Okay, it's all, is it really all one? So I just got fucked over by this person. So how does that go with all one? Or love is the only thing that's real. Yeah, but like I just got betrayed. So we have to really take our emotional state and match it to what our belief systems are.
right.
And to your point of astrologically, I'm definitely seeing that with myself and everyone around me. Whatever's been repressed is coming up now. Like we can't punk, I always say this, the unconscious can't be punked. So the unconscious is saying, hello,
Yeah.
what are you saying about your belief system? Look at this motherfucker. This doesn't
Yeah.
really match what you're preaching here.
Yeah.
So that's up for all of us right now.
Yeah.
So when you say faith and when I say knowingness, tell me are these married to you in your psyche or are they?
I don't think I disagree with that, Abdi. I think that 100%, like, I mean, it is a knowingness. I mean, that to me is what I would say my ideas on spirituality are. They're not something that could be defined logically to other people, maybe. They're not something that you could say, here's a roadmap to it and here's the structure of it. It's a
Mhm,
knowingness in my body about what the truth is for me,
mhm,
so I very much agree with that. I think of this only in terms of like, and that's a good way to kind of differentiate the language around it. But I think of this only in terms of for people who are not anchored in that knowingness,
Yeah.
and they're anchored into a belief or tradition, like what are the signs for them to kind of know, hey, this is actually something I've been conditioned to believe in. This is something that I was taught from childhood, or I don't even know where this comes from. And I'll use an example. Like a lot of people have an aversion to astrology, right? They have an automatic aversion to astrology.
Mhm.
They don't know anything about it. They've never, and maybe they know that there's some bullshit horoscopes and stuff like that. And yeah, there is lots of bullshit and everything. But they don't know that 300 years ago, when the Rosetta Stone was being deciphered, and they had found also this zodiac wheel from 4,000 years prior, and it at the time it was a huge issue because for Christian church, it predated what they believed was the flood of Noah's day. So then it made their teaching, its existence, just as its existence as a piece of material or whatever, it made their teachings into something that there could be doubt around. So then there was a huge campaign,
Mhm.
and astrologers, which used to be a profession, then became, it was no longer anything that anybody wanted to be
Yep.
associated with. So there's like that, we don't know that there's been this huge campaign throughout our ancestry and our lineages to dissuade certain things, to put us away from natural living, living off with the land in natural ways, and steer us towards more. So there's a lot of these things that we have in us that we feel triggered by, where we automatically say, that's bullshit, I don't believe that. But also that we don't understand sort of like where there's been a way that we have been conditioned in our lifetimes through it.
My experience is people, unless they've done some historical analysis like you described, they're sleepwalking into these things.
Yeah.
And I would say part of what, to use language faith or my language knowingness, the proof has to be in the pudding.
Yeah.
For it to be active, it has to be something activated in your life. I know a lot of religious people, right? Mostly Christians and Jews. I tell you an experience. So this is talking about faith. I've been to 1,000 Shabbat dinners with all my Jewish friends over the decades, and I had gone to someone's home recently that moved. A friend of mine from the city had moved up here recently. Incredible human being, older than me. And I walked in the house. I was like, dude, you killer house. I can't believe you bought the energy is insane. I'm trying to look at it. Is it a feng shui? Is it like it's very beautiful? I'm like, this is really juiced up. It was like walking into a shamanic hall. This person is not a shamanic hall, but a very observant of the Jewish faith and practices. So he invited me for Shabbat dinner. Holy shit, man. I literally was crying. And when he calls the angels, I was literally weeping. The amount of juice this guy and his family, I'm very pure of heart, not like not acting pious, like a super cool dude. But he's been doing this seriously since he's a kid. He's in his 70s now.
Yeah.
Literally, I've been with serious shamans that couldn't pull this kind of juice down. Why was that so juiced up? And I didn't put it together the first time walking the house because he's a sincerity in his practice.
Yes.
I know a lot of people of all these faiths who put the hours in, you don't feel anything. So how is this guy so juiced up? He's got love in his heart.
Yes.
So I would say to me, the faith thing is like when I'm around someone, if they have that faith and it's juiced with love, then I'm like, it's a real deal. Now, how can I say to someone, if I don't know them, like, is your faith, do you feel love? Do they know? I don't know. But I can
Yeah.
tell you, I can feel it,
Yes.
right? Like I've been around Christian monks. We just walk and you just want to hug them and kiss them. And I've been around Christian monks, I'm like, geez, this is weird. This is really, really weird. The energy is how you feel around it when you're around it. Now, that's an outside observer.
Yeah.
Can I say internally? I would say, yeah, there are very specific things. Are you at peace? Are you gossiping all the time negatively? Or something's off in you? Are you judging people? Yeah, then your faith is not really working. Are you
Yes.
working on your betterment? Do you really consider your fellow human, the animals, nature? Are you considerate of that? Are you in relationship to other? So to
Yeah.
me, faith is real if it's actually the capital L love,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's an active thing. And then, to me, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. These are cookbooks. Are you cooking with it, or are you just showing me what a beautifully well-kept Bible do you have? It's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
are you using this cookbook to cook? That would be another way of saying it.
Yes.
Are you
Well,
using it to defend yourself or to actually make yourself softer? That'd be another way of saying it.
yeah. I think this is so important too, and it ties into a little bit of what else I want to roll into, but like there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't sit and say like all faiths are different versions of the same
Hmm.
knowingness
Hmm.
ultimately. You know what I mean? In some way. Like they might be different ways of speaking about it. Of course, they might be like man's
Beautiful,
footprint might be in it as well. But
beautiful.
like there's really no reason why acknowledging all belief systems can't actually deepen our own knowingness in our own path. And
1,000%.
but the reason I think that we don't do that is because of supremacist ideation.
So go into that. So what is that? So if you look at it from a Jungian lens, which is my first go-to lens, anything that's an excess is covering a deficiency internally. So if I'm supremacist, meaning I feel I'm better than you because inside I actually feel like a piece of shit. That's how that works.
Exactly, yeah.
So
Yeah.
equanimity is the fragrance of a balanced soul.
Yes.
Supremacy is the stench of a very unbalanced soul. So when you say that stuff, I'm totally with you, and I've been around it. I mean,
Yeah.
as a guy who's had his house burned down by, by that kind of energy, yeah, it's really dark and it's a shadow projection.
Yeah.
So part of the genius of the culture that's not our friend is to really stir the pot to juice that up,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
so instead of us all looking at the quote unquote elite, be like, this is really off. Why are we all struggling when there's all this abundance here? We start going at each other. Well, look,
Yes.
I'm bald. You have hair. Fuck you for having hair. Only witches have hair. And you're like, oh, only psychos are bald. Like, right? It's that energy, but that's not our language. That's the language that's put into us as
Yeah.
a way of distraction.
But I think I absolutely agree. And I think it's really important for everybody to actually look at where we each have this kind of energy in our own psyche of I'm better than, or my idea is the truth, I know the truth. And we see this all the time, like, we see it with God's chosen people or the one true faith. Like my family my whole community growing up, they called their religion the truth. That's literally what they call it. You're either in the truth or you're out of the truth.
Mhm.
And and it's like um and then there's other things to it too. It is obviously nationalism. It's ethnic
So
supremacy, but it's also I intellectual supremacy too, there and spiritual supremacy. Like there's many people, like we all have to sort of like undo those cords inside of us that says I'm getting to a place that's somehow better than somebody else. I feel like it's so prevalent.
intellectuals are the worst ones. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Coming from a deeply intellectual family and being raised by intellectuals, one of the cruelest ones because the mind is basically a place we run into as a way of being deeply hurt. And we
yeah,
can really sharpen that sword, right? So it's the addict, the body being the ground floor, the mind is the attic. So we run into the attic and we sharpen that sword. And man, the way people cut each other with their intellect. So all these things are connected to a feeling of pain
yeah,
and a feeling of disconnection, right? Any of this, like, again, to me, your faith, your knowingness, if it's softening you and opening your heart to the world, which, by the way, all these things you just described are ways of protecting a broken heart. A
yeah,
broken heart only gets healed by breaking more and then breaking again and breaking again. Heartbreak is, if you're living your life correctly, there's a heartbreak, not an idiotic heartbreak of being fucked over by the same type of person 10 times. That's something you have to heal. But heartbreak is a part of it. So all the stuff you also described are ways that we protect ourselves from the cruelty of this realm, of the division part. Now, to me, if you're getting more and more soft and more inclusive, at the same time being in a place of self-protection, that you're not just getting roughshod by people, that's your faith, your knowingness working. If you're at any point that language comes up of like you over someone else, you better than someone else, yeah, something is off. And not as a judgment, just my experience is life is not working for you,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
you'll have whatever you need. You have all this incredible intellectual knowledge or spiritual knowledge, not applied, is like living in a desert, starving, but you have these amazing cookbooks. You,
Yes. Yeah. And
beautiful.
it would seem that like when we're thinking about sort of communication and the way that our society is just at loggerheads all the time over everything. It's just like, just constantly not communicating, not looking for any kind of just defensiveness. It
Mhm.
it seems like the way to sort of quell that is to actually see the woundedness in people who have beliefs that we think are insane or stupid or whatever they are, like, you know, false. And that's actually work that we have to do in developing compassion, not even just for the people, but for ourselves. Like if we lack
Always.
compassion for ourselves, we
Yes.
also can't see that people, sure, we might abhor their behavior and the things that come out of their behavior, but the person themselves, like if we can't find those those points of interest of like love and compassion there, that's really our own work, that's our own job.
It always goes for yourself.
Yeah.
It always goes for yourself, right? So it's always about towards yourself. It's not even about other people. Now, I would say what I'm seeing, just sort of the temperature of the cosmos right now, there are people who are really taking internal inventory and pulling back from that judgment and all that. And there are people just going deeper into it. And my experience is well, not my experience. I know for a fact we can't help people that want to be deeper in it. So part of
Yeah.
to your thing is that we have to kind of be judicious where we put our energy.
Yeah.
And there are people who are really using MSM or Instagram or what have you judiciously, and they're fine. They'll be on it a couple of minutes. As soon as they find losing their sanity, they pull back. They're not trying to get someone else to see their viewpoint. But the people who are really immersed in that are getting really pummeled
Yeah.
because they're emotional. And to your point, yes, there is a way of making money off people's basically neurochemicals. So they're getting going through the washer. So our job again is just to pull back into ourselves and find center. So part
Yeah.
of this thing is like, regardless of what the belief system is, again, to go to the first thing I was talking about when we started,
Mm.
when things go rough, we go to our default setting. And most people's default setting is they don't believe in shit. It's a belief system. It's a very lame structural thing, right? If you've done martial arts for 2 years, someone hits you in the head, you're going to go into some weird ass thing. Doing martial arts for 20 years, you won't even get in the head because you get out of the way. Doing martial arts for 30 years, you won't even walk down that street because psychically you're like, man, there's trouble there. You walk somewhere else. So
Yes.
I would say it's the same thing with this stuff. People, my experience is when something horrendous happens, there's a knowingness, there's a belief. If you have a belief, it'll be useless. If you have a knowingness, it's going to help you. And I'm
Yeah.
talking about horrible illness, painful divorce, losing all your money, right? It doesn't mean that you don't suffer, but you're not suffering over your sufferings.
Yes.
Belief system is to keep us from suffering. Knowingness is like suffering is a part of life. I'm just going to live my life in the center. I'm going to avoid behaviors. And one of them is arguing with people who are supremacists. I'm going to burn your house down. That'd be one way to do it.
Yeah.
It's that energy. So it's very timely what you're discussing here. We
Yeah.
have to know what do we know, what do we don't know. DT Suzuki, the Zen master, had this great one-liner. Now, these Zen fuckers have the best one-liners. His zinger was, the most important thing is to know what's the most important thing. And you're like, okay, so what's the most important thing? That's the whole thing is like, what is it? Is it belief in Christ, Hashem, Allah, Buddha's enlightenment? Like, what is it? Or is it a knowingness inside of you being like, okay, I have this whole construct. It can be helpful. But when the house is burning, which one am I going to go to? Oh, right, none of them. I just got to get out of the house and not burn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have these very intricate, and to your point with supremacists, the more wounded you are, the more sharp that belief system is going to be. Me over you. I'm better than you. And no, 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 no.
Yes.
You know this better than I do because you're way more educated with astrology. What I am seeing in my very sort of juvenile understanding of it is like there is a reckoning of people really knowing what their truth is, living their knowingness, and also pulling back from the
Yes.
drama of the people who are doing exactly what you're saying. I'm
Yes.
better than you.
I mean,
And
we're going to
yeah,
see this. We're going to see a lot more of this too, because one of the major transits that's happening on the 20th is Neptune, which is all about us developing it's the archetype of developing your spiritual truth or connection.
Interesting.
And then Saturn, which is like maturity and work and sort of like discipline and responsibility, they're both meeting at the same degree. They're both in Aries, and it's sort of like this pinnacle moment. And out of it will come lots of different variations of this energy. One variation is the amplification of war. You know, that's like the lowest vibration variation of it, is like turning to violence to for your belief system or your faith system. Another part of this is going to be this reckoning around false leadership, where we're going to see things uncovered, you know, the imperfections and the and so leaders are gonna fall, like we've seen Deepak Chopra, you know, things like that. And then the third
Right.
part of it is leaders are gonna rise. And I mean, for me, I've been feeling really good, but a lot of it is because, you know, giving myself rigorous work to do and really holding myself accountable. I mean, that's the self responsibilities helping me to kind of be like to rise into the moment and feel a little bit like the fire is lighting me up, you know, in a way that feels good.
So two things there.
Yeah.
One is faith, knowingness. The important thing with that is if it's real, if it's actually a living thing, you're not at the mercy of others.
Yeah.
Meaning it was minus 30 degrees here 2 weeks ago. It sucked. I'm, as a guy who's like raised in the desert and warm areas in Africa, like I'm not into minus 30, but I'm not going to put a gun to my head and go, oh my God, it's minus 30. Sure, I have a preference for
Yeah.
90-degree weather. So that's one thing I would say what's happening with globally. Now, so my serenity is not at the base of what's happening outside. So the whole point of faith or knowingness or spiritual practice is my center is inside of me, not outside. It doesn't mean that, of course, I want the world to be holding hands and loving each other. I don't like people. I've lived through civil war. It's not pleasant. But the second part is to go back to what you're saying earlier of like, history is all mocked up and hidden. You have to understand these elites don't think for a second they're not studying astrology. They know what's happening.
Oh, I
So
know.
so they're going to use that like, oh, there's going to be people falling and there's going to be people. So they're going to be studying that. These fuckers take these bites in my experience of having spent decades reading up on this stuff. They take these bites in centuries. They're not like what's going to happen tomorrow. So part of this energy is this is also going to be used astrologically to be like, oh, here's the fall of these leaders. Here's the rise of these leaders. Oh, we're going to show you the fall. We'll even amplify it. Well, guess what? We're going to show up as the rise of the leader, AI. Right? It's like mind-blowing to me how people are being hoodwinked with that. Very intelligent people telling me AI said this about me. I'm like, the whole point of this work is so you feel your emotions. So
Yeah.
if you have a knowingness or faith, again, our language, you will see through that. You will
Yeah.
have a groundedness in you. And if you don't, so this is right now really separating those who think they know and those who actually know.
Absolutely.
Very powerful that way.
Yeah. And you know, like very famously, like Ronald Reagan had an astrologer.
Oh, I know. Oh,
You
I'm very
know,
familiar with yeah,
and
the
but
good old
the
Nancy.
reason why that shouldn't be scary to us at all is because like along with anything that is in this universe, like the the poison and the antidote are always like growing together, so
True,
you can
true.
use things how they can use things however they want to. It doesn't mean that a rise isn't going to happen in people that want to actually look for a higher truth and tap into something that is more connected. It's like you know, like I think one of the hardest things for people is that it's so cynical in the world right now. Everybody's like, everything's just going to shit. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, I know a lot of people who are really rising in this moment. So it's
So
really
yeah,
up to each of us.
my point of that, so just to be clear, I don't live in fear at all.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm very hopeful. My point of saying that is we have to stay aware and conscious, not at all with fear. I actually do see this as a very positive turning point,
yeah,
energetically. And I'm saying just because astrologically there's a potential, we still have to put the work in. My point of saying that is we have to keep the groundedness and the knowingness so we can actually go through these waters, navigate these waters without getting hijacked. And
yeah.
I know for a fact we've incarnated at this time with very specific instructions that our own souls have written for us.
Mm.
We have part of the knowingness of faith is another way of saying it is, are you tapping into that and unfolding those truths so you know what the instructions are right now.
Yeah,
So I'm with you on that. And I would add to that, it's not just like, well, oh, optimism, let's be, because that's also new agey bypass. We got to put the
absolutely.
work in. It's not pre-written, right? We're here as co-creators of this energy.
Yeah, yeah. And to that, I want to say, like, I did point to a picture of something and recently, and it was a chipmunk, you know, and and I was like, ah, it's a chipmunk, and then someone was using AI, and they go, no, it's a oh gosh, squirrel, and I was like, that is, I'm looking at it with my eyes. That's a chipmunk. Like and they're like, oh, AI said it's a, and I'm like, AI is not
Frightening.
AI
Yeah.
is not it's pulling from algorithms. It's not fact. It's not giving you like this is reality, these are the facts. It's just pulling from a bunch of fucking information, and it has zero intellect behind it to actually say this is of
Mhm.
importance and this is not of importance. That's where
Yeah.
human discernment needs to come in. So I love that you're saying that. And I mean, I know you
So
would
that's
never.
idol worship, right? That's idol worship. It's like
Yeah,
literally putting what is idol worship. We're taking the power from within, put it outside. 1984.
yeah.
The last commandment is like you won't trust your own eyes. So this is the
Yeah.
thing that go
I mean,
ahead.
I know, Abdi, that you would never tell anybody like what you should and shouldn't do, but like, I mean, honestly, like, what's your recommendation to people? I mean, do you think that it is wiser to just get off social media and to stop
Well,
inserting yourself into it constantly?
no. I'm a bossy motherfucker. I got to really try not to tell people, but I do tell people. So the thing I would say to people is, use it while paying attention to your center.
Yeah,
But the second you feel you're losing your center, pull back. I'm not like a Luddite. I can tell you, there's very specific, there are days where I can, read the news and this and that for 10, 15 minutes. There are days I can do it for an hour. So I
yeah,
would check your energy. How are you feeling? First and foremost, first thing you got to do when you wake up in the morning, check yourself. How's your emotional state? You might be feeling sad. It might be yours. It might be just from the news. It might be from a friend that broke your heart. It might be psychically you're tapped into something you don't even know.
yeah,
First and foremost, establish that relationship. I wouldn't put any hard rules. I would say pay attention to that pretty much everything you are observing is meant to delude you,
yeah,
not to give you information. It's like with, these huge followers on Instagram. Anything that's bigger than a certain very few people is going to be on some level tainted because that's why it's so big, because they're yanking people off left and right. So that has to be remembered. All the news is pretty much fake. We know that. People, oh, I
yeah,
listen to this and I listen. Like, no, they're just different versions. I would say use it the way I use it as I enjoy. I'm a world citizen, lived around the world. I want to know. I keep it in a way that I can keep my center. And then
yes,
if I'm reading something, then my job is like when I do my meditations morning and night, I'm sending energy, I'm sending love to
yeah,
specific areas on the planet, to groups of people, to animals. Any place where you catch yourself in that either or place. And this is the thing that I forgot. I wrote this, I wanted to say this. You know, this black and white thing with these faiths or knowingness, I don't really see knowingness. It's usually, if it's a real knowingness, it's not going to be black and white. It's very soft. But with a faith, if there's a black and white, that's addiction. The
yeah.
definition of addiction is rigidity.
Mm,
For addicts, we get rigid. My way is right. Your way is wrong. This is right. If you do this, that's going to happen. That's the thing I would say paying attention to as well, because we're a function from an addictive place.
yeah.
So again, I'm not saying don't use it, but I'm saying certainly be aware if you're scrolling for 3 hours mindlessly. Yeah, you've been hijacked. So pay attention to that as well.
Yeah, I love that correlation between addiction and rigidity, and that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
One last thing I wanted to talk about too is these archetypes of this sort of Aries energy, and I'm not going to get into too much of it because I know a
Mhm.
lot of people don't know anything about about astrology, but the Aries energy is really about the physicality of life too. It is about like basically I would talk about Saturn and Aries being like your soul wants a body. It wants to know
Mhm.
that it is
Mhm.
connected to your body. And so, we're talking about knowingness and how to like access that knowingness. And I think the easiest way to do it is to really spend time in your body, especially during those like liminal moments, like before bed, right upon rising, when it's most porous and most like between two worlds, to really like be in your body and give your soul access to your body basically by being really embodied, whether that's through breath or movement or whatever it is that works for you. Like it doesn't have to be any specific practice, but that really is how you lead yourself to clarity eventually, is just simply through like moving through the body.
It's beautiful. The body is the key, 1000%, regardless of what your practice is. And then intention. The first thing I do when I wake up and the last thing I do before going to bed after doing some kind of Tai Chi or some gentle movement, I always intend for my personality to be aligned with my soul.
Mm.
And, the thing that's a mystery in this culture, we think that freedom comes when we have the money or we have the love or we have that cool, awesome motorcycles. Motorcycles are awesome. But all those things, the freedom is not attachment to those things, not having those things. That's a big thing. Nisargadatta Maharaj, the Indian mystic, who was a simple man who got enlightened. He was a beedi shop owner. He got enlightened, just really following his guru. He had this amazing line. He had a million amazing lines. I Am That is the book. If you want to read one book, you can read every day. It's mind-blowing. He had this great line. He would say, enlightenment is not for the person. Enlightenment is from the person.
Yeah.
Enlightenment is not for the person. It is from the person. So to your point, when you're going into the body, you're getting out of the head. The person is the head, this thing that we believe, this thing that we build this supremacy or faith to protect, and that's in the head. When you drop in the body, there's not as much to protect. So it's so beautiful what you're saying. Yes, if you ground in the physical body, the intention I'm making of my soul to run the show, not my personality, I'm saying this thing that's got to be so defended because it's scared all the time. That's a function of it, that ego mind. That's the thing that comes up with all these faiths because it's got this thing. And, we look at Prince of Peace, Christ came here and, basically said love one another. And then what, 500 million people have been killed in the name of the Christ in the last 2,000 years, if you consider all the things that have happened.
Yeah.
So there's also a big misunderstanding of whatever this historical person said turn the other cheek, and then we're killing each other over it. That energy has to really be paid attention to. There's belief and there's a knowingness.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that wasn't this cat's message if it was a person, if we right?
Yeah.
So the heart is in the body. The heart, I would say the emotional body and the physical structure, beautifully, as you said, are the gateways to the soul.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about Jesus today, actually, and I was just thinking about his humanness. Like I was thinking about like his rage, and he threw the guys out, the tax collectors out, or his doubt and stuff. Just like it's just and actually that brought me. I was like, yeah, this is just a person who had access to the same information we do, that internally of like, there is a core energy of love that we can all tap into, but also how necessary all of those kind of the pathway of healing is as well. Like no one's perfect. No one's gonna just come from this perfectly enlightened place all the time, because Jesus didn't even do that.
Well, I would say Jesus, to me, the archetypical teachings of Jesus are really, really profound.
Yeah.
So the anger with the tax collectors, I always go to that. That's so profound. It's not like, oh, kissy new agey bullshit. It's like, dude, this is a place of worship. Go fuck off with this stuff. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
One of the deepest things for me that always talks to me is, God, why have you forsaken me?
Yes.
The fact that he's on his mission. So to me, these archetypical teachings is like doubt is a part of this realm.
Yeah.
Anger is a part of this realm where things are wrong. But also what people don't really get or talk about enough about Christ. You have to remember, I'm not talking about the person. I'm talking the energy on this realm was an eye for an eye. Christ was the divine feminine. Hey, turn the other cheek. It's not be an idiot. It's like an eye for an eye, everyone's going to be blind.
Yeah.
So we kind of forget what was here before and after. Now, am I saying that Vatican? Fuck those psychopaths. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking the actual energy of this. That's a very profound thing. And then, yes, you're so correct. The archetype of Christ, have doubt. That's a part of it. The betrayal. the
Yeah.
knowingness and still being heard, of like having like 1000% confidence to get nails in your hand and then be like, what the fuck is going on here? Am I your son? Like, so this is a roadmap for all of our awakening.
Yes.
The salvation to me is
Yeah.
really awakening enlightenment. That's a roadmap for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every religion has something beautiful in it that carries
Absolutely.
some of that message. But to me, the Christ thing and the Divine Mother, which is sort of what I serve, that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Abdi, for this
You are welcome.
today. I really appreciate it. And
That was great. I'm glad we spoke about that. That's very important.
I know.
And just to leave this, this is a very profound time on the planet. It's an amazing time. It's a very
Yeah.
joyous time. Despite of all the horrible things that are happening, our job always has been to keep the center, to come
Yeah.
from the heart. It's not our fight out there. We help whatever we can, but if we lose our center while doing that, we're not helping anyone. So our
Yeah.
job is to really hold that, and we all have the tools. We came in with it very specifically.
Yes.
And astrologically, what you define, beautiful. These scrolls are being unfurled, and our job, as you said beautifully, through the body, is to go in there and be like, what's the message for today? What is the thing that I
Yes.
have to pay attention to? What am I bringing in today?
Absolutely. And like, I think it's not, even though it can feel like I got to get up and do something and be action oriented, like I just think of the best thing anyone can do is simply just be their own best energy and let that ripple out. And you have no idea how, I mean, I've seen it in my own life coming from addiction to what how I live my life now. You can't imagine how much you actually touch people with your energy all the time, and
Yeah,
that is the best place to start, is to just like let your
beautiful.
energy speak for itself.
Human being, not human doing.
Yeah.
Human being, not human doing. That's where we're at right now, to really come from that place.
Thank you. Thanks, Abdi.
Uh,
To speak with Abdi and have one-on-one sessions, go to his website, and he's also got a podcast going on there, and occasionally has some classes and stuff that he'll teach. It's abdiassadi.com, and I'll put that in the show notes. And yeah, thank you very much, Abdi.
you're welcome. I send you lots of love.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.